Man, it is a gift. The rooms that you stand in when you force yourself out of the self isolation that we all want to do. Who finds you? And my
Hmm.
girl, Erin Halligan Avery. That is exactly what I think about when I think about the gift that is
Aw.
you.
Well, you're sweet. You
Mm.
are so sweet. You remember how we met? Do you
I was
remember
just,
when we
I
met?
was going to talk about that. Share it.
So here we are. We're at a Women in IT Government conference, right? You and I both introverts, believe it or not. Introverted, want to be alone with our own thoughts kind of people.
Mhm.
But here we are with 400 people behind us, 400 people, in virtual land, and we're the ones given the keynotes, right? Bookend keynotes. I'm morning keynote, your evening keynote, right? Now, no one in this group at all is going to know that you and I are just beautifully introverted people who
Mhm.
are like, I would rather just be eating my taco bowl in the back of the room by myself, right? Because we're keynotes. We're the keynotes. Keynotes are the ones who are just front row center and up there. So here we are. It's me and Renee, and we're sitting front row center, and you come up and you say, these are my girls right here. Sit in front row center right here. Can I sit by you? And what do we say? Absolutely. Come on here, right here, right? This beautiful moment of like, can I be with you in this moment? And then the other beautiful moment of, oh my gosh, thank you for asking. Please come,
Mm.
right? That
Mhm.
simple, can I join you,
Mm.
started off what happened to be one of the best conferences I have been to. And the most love in that room of
Mm.
women in the IT space, and continued on our relationship after that because of simple words. Can I join you?
Mm.
Join you.
I was thinking about that moment today. I don't know why am I about to cry? Like, girl, I am
Oh,
having a moment over here
I love it.
because I feel this, that the world can feel very lonely,
Mm,
especially in this screen driven, overwhelmed feeling like everyone has it figured out but you, the pings and the dings and this narrative of I cannot keep up, right?
yes.
And the power that happens when you force yourself, like you said, girl, we'd much rather be sitting in the back eating the
Oh,
taco
yeah.
bowl,
Oh, yeah.
having a moment with our thoughts. But
Oh,
instead, we forced ourselves out of that uncomfortably to
yeah.
be in the front and to also lean into that curiosity of, oh my God, I'm intrigued by you. And can I sit by you? And then that warm embrace of the welcome.
Right.
Yeah.
And how vulnerable. You
Mm,
were vulnerable in that moment. You were
mm,
vulnerable as an introverted pretend extrovert to come up to another introverted pretend extrovert and say, can I sit with you?
mm.
Now, I think we're professional enough that I would never have been like,
Mm.
no,
Get the fuck out of here.
no, actually, no. Right? But what I could have said was, oh, actually, I have other members of my team who are coming. Or I could have said, oh, I'm
Mm,
sorry, I'm saving that for someone else. Or, right?
mm.
Which in that moment, that beautiful moment of vulnerability could have turned into a moment of now, what do we call that? It's like still extroversion, but it's like, I don't know. It's like in that moment, you would have been
Yeah.
like, okay, girl. But inside, you're like, kind of
Yes.
I felt, right? But sometimes I don't think we realize the vulnerability that we have in those moments of
Mm.
connecting with other people until it hits us that it didn't go how we wanted to, or in this moment, appreciating that it went beautifully. And look what wouldn't have happened if you hadn't made that tiny 3-word gesture.
As you're talking, my girl, it makes me flash to the world vulnerability. And
Mm.
our world loves to throw a hashtag around shit, make it seem simple. Hashtag vulnerability is
Yeah.
strength. And it is, but it's hard. It is hard.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel as if, and I would love for you to share your nuggets on this and your journey with this. Before you can be vulnerable with anyone else, you got to be vulnerable with you in these sort of micro moment decisions, exactly what you're describing with how we came into each other's life. What does vulnerability mean to you, and how have you had the courage to tap into that
Mhm.
in what can feel like a mask up world?
I love that question. I love it. It was not until, I'm going to say, really recently, within this year,
Mm,
that it was brought to my attention that I am innately a vulnerable connector.
mm,
I never would have described myself like that because in my mind, I was just announcing where I was
mm,
before I got there, right? I'll give
mm,
you an example. We played I got asked to play in a golf tournament recently. Now, I haven't played golf, girls, since, like, high school. I'm talking, like, 12th grade, okay? But I'm like, "No, I got this. I got this.
mm,
I'm gonna go and I'm gonna do it." The level of anxiety I had about going to play in this golf match was unreal. I felt sick to my stomach. I
mhm,
thought I was gonna have to run to the bathroom. I was afraid to eat anything. I was not going to drink anything, especially not coffee, because I was so afraid it was not gonna end well. I was paralyzed by this fear of playing in this golf tournament.
mm,
We get there, and it's me and my partner and the 2 other people that we are playing. We get to hole number 1, and I say, "You guys, it's so nice to meet you. I need to be so honest with you right now. I feel like I could throw up on the grass behind me at any moment, not because I'm ill, but because I am so nervous
mm,
about playing in this golf tournament. It is unreal." And the 2 women were like, "Oh, you don't have anything to be nervous about. Oh, it's just gonna be really fun." And I'm like, "Thanks so much for saying that. If I didn't tell
mm,
you that this was my internal state, I would have felt like a phony the entire time we were here, and you probably would have been wondering what's up with that girl. Either she's not talking a lot, either she's like really standoffish, maybe she's aloof." I'm like, "I
mm,
just want to be really clear that whatever energy you're getting from me, especially for the first 2 holes, is just pure anxiety. I think I might vom over here." And these women immediately we're like, this is great. You're
mm,
gonna do great. It's totally fine." I'm like, "Can I tell you what my biggest fear is?" And they're like, "Yeah." I said, I'm gonna whiff. And my biggest fear right now is I'm gonna get up here and you're all gonna be looking at me and I'm gonna whiff when I go to hit the ball." And they said, "It's not a problem. It's not a problem.
mm.
We're gonna turn around for your first hit."
Ah,
I said, "You are." They said, "We are. We're gonna turn around for your first hit so that it can just be you and the tee and the ball, and you can get your confidence up." And so I get up there and I'm looking behind me, right? And they turn around. They turn
ah,
around, they start like, in golf, you don't make any noises. Otherwise, they would have been like singing or like doing the dee 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 dee, nothing to see over here. I get up there, I hit the ball, I top it. This thing, I don't know yardage. It just like dribbles, it dribbles itself, right? I look over, they're still not looking. I go up and I pick up the ball and I put it back and I go and I hit it again. And the thing soars way further than I thought that thing was
mm,
gonna go. And I turn around and they're still backs to me. And I said, "You guys," they turn around and I said, "I hit the ball. I hit it twice. The first one wasn't good, but the second one was really great." And they're like, "Way to go. That's so great." That was the only thing I needed in that
mm,
moment to completely calm my nervous system. And then for the rest of the time, we had the greatest time. We
mm.
laughed. Everyone screwed up. One woman got like a 15 on one hole.
Yeah.
It was totally fine. But if I had not in that moment
Mm.
acknowledged my vulnerability, it would not have connected me to these people in a way that
Mm.
I got my needs met. They were able to support me. They felt good about being able to like help me through this particular thing. And then it bonded us for the rest of this event, even until the very last hole where they're like, how do you feel now?
Mm.
You feel like are you coming back next week? You know,
Mm.
vulnerability can bond us. And that just feels like such an innate part of who I am because it feels disingenuous
Mm.
not be that way. And in that way, I don't always see it as a skill. Sometimes I think it's just this in tune with what you're feeling and
Mm.
where you're at, and then speaking that into existence.
I was just going to say the micro moment of courage to speak it
To say
and
it out loud.
to say it out loud and the freedom in speaking it. For instance, as you're talking, Erin, and telling this beautiful story, it made me flash to a conversation yesterday morning. You know how we always start our conversations? How are you? Not
Yeah,
a rhetorical question. Like you
yeah,
can sit in it.
yeah,
You can
yeah,
answer truly. You don't have to go, good, great, I'm fine. If you're barely hanging on. Now,
yeah,
yes, it depends on who's on the receiving end of asking that
yeah, sure,
question, right? But
sure.
so
Yeah.
yesterday morning, 9 a.m., I have a call with a friend, and I got to tell you, I was like, fuck, I don't want to do this. I'm tired. I'm like, you ever do that? Even with like
Oh,
the
yeah.
best people,
Ah,
you're like, I don't know.
oh, yeah.
Don't want to do this and put on the smile and the thing. And she said to me, how are you? And I got to tell you, and I took a bait and I was like, I got to tell you, I'm like struggling a bit right now. And
Mm,
we had this moment and she was like, oh my God, me too. And I
mm,
had to tell you, that 3 minute conversation between the two of us of being real
yes.
and speaking it changed that entire conversation. And I got to tell you, I felt lighter.
Sure. How did you walk away from it? When you ended it, weren't you like, "Oh, I feel invigorated by that conversation," instead of like it was a chore?
A chore, yes. And so I would
Yeah,
love for you to share with our beautiful tribe what you had shared with me moments ago when we logged in. And I had said, and you had asked me just this, how are you, Meg? And I said, girl, the overwhelmed gremlin is fucking knocking on my door, knocking loud, ringing the doorbell. And I'm like, you ain't coming in here. I am trying to be very aware to not put myself back into a place that I have been so many times where
yeah,
life feels like an army crawl and a chore and exhaustive. And you had given me this beautiful nugget of
mm,
finding the fringe, of finding your
mm.
fringe.
Finding your fringe.
Can you
Yep,
share that with us?
yep. Yeah, I'd love to. So, it's not unique to humans, in my opinion, to go through times in our life where we feel that we're on that fringe.
Mm.
We are completely overwhelmed. We took on too much. We didn't expect all the cards to fall at the same time. We feel completely unable to pick ourselves up and move ourselves forward, incapacitated. I don't think that's a unique experience to any one human being. I think that happens over and over and over again in the course of life for many people. What I do think is unique is the amount of times that people will actually identify their fringes
Mm.
and say, oof, I feel like I'm getting closer to that fringe edge where I don't want to be.
Yeah.
And if we don't spend the time in those trenches saying, I'm not good right now. I don't like how this feels. I don't have time for my family. I don't have time to complete my tasks at my job. I don't have time to When I'm going to bed, stop thinking about things. Like
Mm,
I am so overwhelmed right now. If we don't stop in that moment and say, what does this feel like? And what are the contributing factors? Then we're not developing our fringe. And
mm,
the fear of not developing the fringe is you will continue to go back there over and over and over again and then wonder why the situation isn't changing,
mm,
right? You'll just keep doing it and putting yourself in situations where you're not able to identify that we're getting close to that point that I know feels really uncomfortable and like a place I don't want to be. And that's what I heard you say when you said the gremlin's knocking at the door. And you said, so I'm having an awareness that I don't want to let it in because I don't want to get what I heard you say was get to that fringe again. I
mhm,
felt the fringe. I felt it. I don't
mm,
want to go there. I know that that gremlin, the minute I let him in, we're at fringe again, and I don't want to be there. And I
yeah.
think that's a beautiful skill to be able to have, a necessary skill as a woman who's doing the most number of things
Mm,
to know where her fringes are and what she's going to do or who she's not gonna open the door for,
mm.
not get there
Oh my
again.
God, that just gave me goosebumps. Y- I love that so much. And girl, as you were unpacking that, it made me flash to this gift of this thing I saw online. And it was you are handling this better than your past self would. And I
Yeah,
right? And I feel like as
yes,
women, we can easily get in this rat race, Herculean sprint of us versus us and never allow ourselves to sit in the awareness or sit in the acknowledgement
yep,
that we are handling this better than we once were, and
yep.
we have this toolkit that we did not once have. How do you, Erin, as you are a mama, as you are running a company, as you are a woman in the world, how do you not lose yourself in all of it? What rituals or what awareness
Mhm.
tools do you have when those gremlins are knocking on your door and you're like, I'm not going to open the door? Do you have anything, any foundational things that you do to not lose yourself in all of it?
Mm, yes, and I wanna very vulnerably say this is an area of my life that is constantly in work because I'm
Mm,
not great at it.
mm-hmm,
I'm actually really not great at it. And
mm-hmm.
I'm not great at it because there's some unmet part of me that feels if I'm not doing it all, I'm not doing anything.
Oh, yeah. The girl, that was, if we can put
Okay.
that in a fucking bumper sticker, t shirt, hat, that I have I feel seen in a way. Yes. Where do you think
Yeah.
that stems from?
Ugh. I'm working through it literally right now where I'm at a place in my life that feels so perfectly um condensed,
Mm,
meaning everything's where it needs to be. I feel like I have great time to spend with my family. My business is running so successfully with all of the people that we have working with us. I'm able to take on a little bit over here in like a faculty realm where I'm able to teach some classes, and that's very fulfilling to me. And now for most people, they're like, "Oh, girl, that's 3 full-time jobs, right?" And I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I'm like, "Hey, I got this little thing and this little thing," and it's they're just so beautiful. They're just like really, really great right now. And I am itching out of my skin because I'm like, "Should I go find a part-time job? Should I go
mm,
do some additional consulting work? Should
mm,
I focus on increasing our social media presence? Am I? And I, again, like awareness of the fringe, I'm so aware recently of how uncomfortable I am
mm,
in the space of not having every moment booked.
mm,
So I then start to unpack that a little for myself and say, why
Mm,
do I need every moment to be booked? And I lie to myself first, right? So usually I'll be like, oh, well, because you're a successful woman and this is what successful women do. And, you're just proving to other women, you're setting the stage for what other women can do. And blah, 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 blah. I do all those things first to like convince myself that it's okay.
mm,
And then I really am like, great, 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 great. So happy we've had some time for that. I hope you feel seen. You're great. You're a real powerful woman. You're really wonderful. You're doing all the things. Congratulations. That's great. What else? What else
mm.
is under there? And in the work I've done in this area, again, not perfect. It's not fine-tuned where I want it to be yet. But vulnerably, I would tell you that there's this innate sense of not good enough
Mm.
that comes up for me, or you've not proven yourself yet.
Oh,
And it's not to me, because I'm more than proving myself to me. I'm like, girl, you're nailing it. Like
yeah.
you got it. I haven't yet proven myself two, and then the two is a blank line because
Mm.
I really don't know who the two is.
No.
It feels like society. It
Mm.
feels like men. It feels like um other successful people, right? I don't know what gets filled in that blank.
Yeah.
That part comes up for me as I've not done enough to prove something. And so that to me means you're not good enough yet.
Mm.
You're not enough yet.
Mm.
And that theme of not enough is one that I is a story I've told myself, not a story that's necessarily been communicated to me by other people, but it's something I've told myself in different facets of my life that until I really dive into what that is and why that's coming up, I think I will always feel uncomfortable in the silence of not doing because it's triggering for me
Mm.
the you're missing an opportunity to fulfill the enoughness. But the enoughness is like a clear box with no bottom. It just keep I mean, I keep putting stuff in there constantly, constantly, constantly. For who and for what, I don't know.
Mm.
And I will continue to put things in that box at the cost of my physical health, at the
Mm.
cost of my mental health, at the cost of my relationships,
Mm.
at the cost of later looking back and saying, "You were a really good mom. But maybe you could have been a great mom, but you were a really good mom," right? Like at the cost of all of these potential future things, I will still put the things in the clear, bottomless box against everything that makes sense. And I don't know why. I don't know why the not enough narrative is so associated with me.
Girl, I got to tell you what, I got a legal pad here. And as you were beautifully articulating the not enoughness, I got a whole fucking page here of shit. Because I
Mhm.
got to tell you what, well, one, I feel like you have unpacked so many of our journeys. This not enoughness, but for whom?
Yeah.
But for whom?
Yeah.
And as you were talking, it made me flash, God, so many things. One, here's what I have realized now at 40, doing
Mhm.
all of this work. You can't outrun yourself.
Yes.
You can fucking try
Oh, we
hard.
do try, don't we? We
We
do
do
try.
try. You
We
can't
try.
outachieve it. You can't outdrink it. You can't outwork it.
That's
You
right.
can't outbuy it because it will show
Outsmart
up.
it, talk about it. Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
out talk it. Yeah.
And for me, it's so interesting. It took me so long to realize this. And I think it was just so painful that I shoved it down and I
Yeah.
never went back there. I became a number at a young age
Yeah.
because we never talked about this stuff. Was raised by a beautiful single mother, 23, two kids, did the best that she could, was a strong mama. Um, but and I feel like 98% of parents are doing the best that they can, right? No one says I want to jack my kid up. But
Yeah.
no one's like, fine, and I'm gonna jack my but we never talked about the hard stuff. And so I became a runner at a very young age because I didn't have the language or the tools. And
Yeah.
Erin, as you were talking about the not enoughness, it made me flash to this awareness that I have had that I'll never forget it. Mr. Bailey's eighth grade math class
Mm,
made me stand up in front of the class. Again, introverted kid, but I never realized it because I came across extroverted, mixture of both, right? And he made me stand there and try to solve this math problem, and I couldn't. And he made me stand there. I remember it like it was yesterday, sweat beating down my face. I was
oh,
this chubby kid with a speech impediment.
oh,
Oh my God, it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. And from that moment on, Erin, this narrative that I told myself, which was reconfirmed by schooling because I was a C student, 600 SAT scores, was I am not smart enough. And
mm,
I became on this sprint at the cost of myself. You said it so beautifully when you were
yeah,
talking about this. I'll put these things in this box to try to fill it at the cost of my physical health, at the cost of my mental health, at the cost of my family, at the cost of all of these things to try to get this validation. And that was me
yeah,
my entire life. This
yeah,
external validation to somebody, please tell me that I
yes.
am worthy and that I am good.
Oh, yes, to the external person. And isn't it isn't it interesting that we tell ourselves the external person needs to tell me that I'm good and that I'm valid and that I'm great, right? But I'll tell you that. Renee will tell you that.
Mhm.
Your partner will tell you that.
Mhm.
Your children will tell you that. People that you randomly meet after your keynote will tell you that. I heard them tell you that,
Mm.
right? Still not enough.
Still not enough.
Because the external place where we need to hear that from, where we're seeking that validation, is still not the internal little Meg and little Aaron that says, you're enough.
Yes.
You are as you are is enough.
Mm.
Right? And so we tell ourselves that's the box with no bottom, right? We tell ourselves, if I just help this department and this person and this person and this person and do this and start a business. I started my own company. I'm a college professor, 18 years of experience in higher ed. I was a mental health therapist. I'm growing the best, most pronounced little guy you could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
I'm killing it in the wife category.
Yep.
I'm not, right? But everything else was true. It's a poor mark. Um, all of those things are so fulfilled, right? Still not enough.
Mm.
All of the positive affirmations and people saying, Erin, you're so great. Erin, I love this. Comments on Instagram, comments on how great my business is and how many that's helping people, right? All of this external validation. Erin, great keynote. We loved hearing about your guinea pig. So they really spoke to me, right? All of it, all of it, all of it feels so momentarily beautiful and kind and wonderful. And yet, what are you doing the next day?
Yeah.
Out writing my next keynote, back out looking for my next job, back out, right? Because little Meg, little Aaron were temporarily fulfilled, but have
Mm.
not. They have not
Oh,
healed.
that's it. That's it. There was this beautiful here's what I would love for you to do, girl. And I love when you had said this earlier. I can see things in you. Renee can
Mm,
see things in you. Other people can see things in you. And that is the gift of women. I feel like that is one of our many
yes,
superpowers is we
yes.
innately have this gift in what we can see in each other and it helps us
Oh,
evolve and peel back the layers. And I feel called to share with you, as you were talking about these moments of space that you have to not fill them with something. I would love for you to dial into this book. You can listen it to audio, take it for a walk, or
Yeah.
you can crack open a page, whatever feels right to you. It's by Tara Moore,
Okay.
Mohr.
Okay.
And it's about this, playing bigger and the self-talk and the
Mhm.
self-narrative. And she does this beautiful exercise of being guided by your future self. And she does it in the beginning of the book. And I have to tell you, it has it has given me um what's the word I'm looking for? This awareness. And I would love to gift it to you.
Oh, I
Tara
love it.
Moore's Tara Moore's book. And actually after we get off, I'm gonna gift it to you as a gift from me to you because
Oh,
it's a
thank
powerful,
you.
it's a powerful tool to fill your own
Thank
internal.
you. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. The
So
only thing that has come close to me
mhm.
of fulfilling that is IFS, internal family systems therapy. So, IFS therapy is essentially this concept that we have multiple versions of ourself.
Mm,
I'm not talking about like dissociative identity disorder or anything. I'm talking about how each we have protectors, they're called firefighters, right? We have um people who are versions of ourselves that are trying to be soft and caring and kind. We have these different versions of ourselves, and every one of them is a little part of us that's surrounding this core sense of who
mm,
we are, this core sense of self. And in one of the IFS sessions that I did, it's almost like you're in a meditative stance, and
mm,
it's taking you on this interesting journey, and he's taking me there, and he's asking me what I'm seeing. And I'm
mm,
saying to him, there's this little girl, and she's wearing black and gray, and she's young, and she has blondish hair, and she's in a corner, but she's in a corner of this room that is all cinder blocks. There's only one window, only a little bit of light is coming in, and she's crouched down in the corner, unsure about what she's supposed to be doing there. Right. And he's like, let's just sit with her for a minute. Let's just sit next to her. How close will she let us get to her? And I'm like, pretty close. Pretty close. She'll let me sit like pretty close to her. So he's like, all right, let's sit with her for a little bit and see, like, will she look up at you, and will she, and he's taking me on this beautiful, beautiful journey of being with this girl, right? Who's in the corner of this cinder block room. And he says, are you looking at the girl, or are you the girl? And I said, I'm looking at her. And he said, well, then that tells me that there's just another part of you that is looking at this girl and is trying very compassionately to try and figure her out,
mm,
and is willing to be with her in this moment. And what a beautiful part of yourself that has shown up to help this girl. But IFS therapy helps you realize that you are that girl, and that when you start to heal some of those parts, you become that girl. You're not looking at that girl. And that when you're telling the story, you're actually saying, I'm crouched down in a room and I'm looking around and I see that there's light coming in, instead of I see this girl and this girl is looking at. And that's how you progress through IFS therapy, because once you become the girl, you've gotten connected with the core version, and you can make sense of your other parts and love them, every one of them, even the ones that are bristly and rude and mean
mm.
and nasty. You look at that part and you say, thank you so much for being here. What a beautiful protector you are. I really appreciate you protecting me. And do you think I could maybe take over a little bit more of this, and you could stand right next to me, but you don't need to stand in front of me. You
Mm.
could stand next to me. And if something gets a little out of control, you can step back in. That's okay, right? You don't need to not be here, right? And that IFS therapy was so critical for me in understanding how my parts show up and how
Mm.
those parts of myself get expressed to other people. And how I need to do some additional work at recognizing that I'm the girl in the corner of the cinder block room and how I get her to stand up
Oh.
and look out the window and walk out the door, right? That's the beauty of the work.
Oh my God, girl. You're taking me to tears right now.
Mhm.
As you're talking, what comes to mind is curiosity with healing.
Mm.
So I did this hypnotherapy.
Yeah,
Oh my God, it was powerful.
yeah. Was it?
Oh
Yeah.
yes. And y'all, we've had her on the podcast before, Deanna Smith. She had done Reiki on me for this
Mhm.
energy healing, and it was so releasing. I didn't even realize the shit that I was carrying with me. And
Yeah.
she had called me and she had said, I'm doing this hypnotherapy. I think you would really benefit from it. Come in and let's try it. And she was like, "You don't have to talk, Meg." And I was like, "Okay, beautiful.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
be
right?
there. If all I got to do is sit in a chair,
Right?
I'll do it." And I got to tell you what, Erin. So the whole premise is that you close off this conscious mind that is constantly blaring in your ear, and you tap into your subconscious, and what is meant to find you will. And
Yeah.
there was this moment, and I got to tell you, I keep going back to it. I just went back to it this morning.
Oh,
Of
wow.
I was on the beach, and it was me holding my younger hand self. And there was, oh my God, I'm gonna get emotional talking about it. There was this light shining on us, like it was God, universe, divine, saying, keep going. And
Oh,
there were people behind us saying, you've changed our life, you've helped us. And I'm like holding her hand, and we're on this journey together. And I have to tell you, it has given me so much courage to
yeah.
keep going, to your point, when the gremlins try to get in front of me and take the wheel.
Yep. Yep. Oh, I love that. See me, I'm getting emotional. I'm just imagining you holding the little U's hand and saying, "We got this.
Yeah.
Got this," right? And that's what you're talking about in that book. That if you're talking about the visualization that she does, it's your older self talking to your younger self, guiding you through this journey. And you're talking to little Meg, and you're like, "It's okay. I know this is a little scary. I know this is a
Yeah.
little uncomfortable. I know your feet hurt, right? We got this. Let's
Mm,
take a step and look behind us, right?
yeah.
Look what we've done, right? And
Yeah.
that for me is you telling little Meg, we're enough.
Oh,
Right? Back to that center of we're enough, whether it's a visualization of walking on a beach or becoming myself in a cinder block room, right?
yeah.
It's back to wholeness. It's back to healing. Curiosity leads us to the ability to heal and
Mm.
create ourselves as what we once were before the world got to us,
Oh,
got to us.
yes. And girl, I got to tell you, what a beautiful full circle moment, because I truly believe this all dials back to what we started about with these micro moments of vulnerability,
Yeah,
and
I
then
agree.
who comes into your life.
I agree.
And what they share and the nuggets and girl. So I gotta ask you this, because this was such a powerful thing. I want to switch gears, because so many women had talked to me about this with you in that day when we were with 400 women in government IT. They were salvating, and I was salvating, as you so beautifully and eloquently on that stage talked about empathy. You talked about empathy, and I wrote it down because I absolutely loved it. So, an authority. And
Mm,
empathy isn't the opposite of authority.
yep. Yeah.
And I feel as, to
Yeah.
your point, as we get into the world and we get into the lanes that we're good at and where we get the validation, then we try to make ourselves fit into these lanes that we think that we're supposed to. For me, for so long, Erin, that was this badass corporate woman, and I wore this tough exterior to get the shit done and break balls and do all the things. And that's not my true nature, but
Yeah.
I tried to make it that way. Will you share with us what you unpacked on that stage that day on empathy isn't the opposite of authority?
Yeah. Empathy right?
Mm,
And we can and instead of empathy but or empathy instead of, right? When you think about authority, at least for me, images come to mind. And when I think about empathy, images come to mind, and they aren't the same images. And I
mm,
think that that's really difficult, specifically for women, because, like you said about our superpowers, some of that I think is just innately our
yeah.
biological makeup and who we are as changers of the world.
Mm,
But that doesn't then put us in a position where we can't also be authoritative. We can't also say, I don't like how this is going right now. This needs to change. That's not appropriate. This needs to be different, right? Those two things do not need to be held mutually exclusively, but the world wants it to be.
mm,
The
mm,
world wants us. I think at one point in the speech I had said something like, you can't hire someone for their empathy and expect them to just be a pushover,
mm,
as much as you can't hire someone just for their authority and expect that they have absolutely no compassion, because both are required in effective leadership. Both are required in human beings,
mm,
because we are not just singularly one thing about who we are. And it's embracing both of those things that I think allows women particularly to be seen, because my friends would tell you I am ridiculously authoritative, clear, direct, sometimes a little too direct. Um, I have a great desire for justice. I
mm,
have a great desire for things to be done efficiently and equitably. Um, I'm not going to mince words if someone is in a situation that is causing harm in
mm,
some way to themselves or to others. I will not sugarcoat with you that I think you're doing a good job in a performance appraisal if I really think you're doing a bad job,
mm,
because I don't think that's kind to do
mm,
that. I actually think that's the opposite of kind if I
mm,
just placate you and tell you what you want to hear to your face because it's hard for me to have that conversation. Instead, I think the kindest thing I can do is say, you're underperforming in these areas. Tell me about why. Can we fix this or can we not?
mm,
Right. And so when you expect me to be all of those things, and I have been hired into many jobs to be the one who comes in and does the organizational shifts.
mm,
I've been the one who comes in and is told, you need to fire this many people, right? Or you need to have a conversation with so and so to get them out because no one else has been able to do that. I'm hired for that authority constantly. But when I then show empathy and kindness and compassion in an authoritative way,
mm,
people are like, what's she doing? What the heck is going on here?
mm.
I don't like this. This is a little too soft, right?
Yeah.
If I'm hired for my empathy, and then I have a strong opinion, or I am very clear and direct in a meeting, or I say, no, actually, I think that's a terrible idea. I'm somehow seen as, oof, wow, maybe we got a bunk version of Erin. She came to us, looking like she really cared and was really loving, but maybe
Mhm,
she's a wolf in sheep's clothing, right?
mhm,
And I really want to change this narrative to allowing us to be both, and
mm,
that empathy and authority can live in the same space and actually serve the world in a better way than any one of those things can do singularity.
mm. That's powerful, girl. That is powerful. Erin, on that note, I would love for you to share with our tribe the work that you're doing with Concern Center,
Mm.
how we can find you and follow you and get more of your beautiful nuggets that you are dropping up in here today. And you all, this is just a little snippet of the gift that is Erin. You see her live, baby. It is a beautiful gift.
Can you imagine? Thank God we only had a time limited amount between you and I at this conference because we still be talking
I was gonna say
today.
we'd probably still be there.
We'd still be there. We're still there. I'm like, can we have some more crackers, please? We're not done yet. And I'm like, oh, wait, a quick minute. Meg needs to get a photo op over here. You give the photo. I'm like, okay, bring it back, bring it back. So, right. Thank God time limits exist
Oh,
because,
God,
oof,
preach.
it's not good. So yes, I own this company called ConcernCenter that exists in the corner of empathy and authority,
Mm-hmm.
right? So authoritatively, we said, oof, the way that people are searching for help in organizations sucks. It's really terrible. I don't care what organization you're in. You can be in a college or university, a K-12 school district, a government agency, a boarding school, a senior living center, a town. I don't care, wherever you're searching for information about how do I pay this bill?
Mm-hmm.
How do I switch roommates? Where do I get depression support, right? Wherever you're searching for information, the way that we have told people to look for help is so terrible. It's so inequitable. It's so inefficient. It is not easy. And as a result of that, authoritatively saying, hey, this really sucks, the empathy comes in and says, but we can make it better. And
Mm-hmm.
that is Concern Center. Concern Center is on the corner of empathy and authority, where what we do is we take an organization's resources and we pull them into one stop place, one stop hub, where we then allow people in that organization to simply go to that hub, type in their concern, whatever their concern may be, and then it will populate a list of internal and external resources that are available to help that specific concern.
Mm-hmm.
Our goal is to help people in under 2 minutes get the help that they need, because we know that people will stop searching and they will give up. And we can't have people giving up, not when it comes to depression and anxiety and thoughts of suicide and other really important things, or even something like I need to switch my roommate. You shouldn't have to search for 15, 20 minutes as a college student to find an answer to that, because your life is impacted. You're not in a good place, right?
Yeah.
So we need to help people be able to do that better. So that's what we're running with Concern Center. We now help over 3.5 million people nationwide find help via Concern Center platforms to the support that they need. We are not stopping there. We want to be in every single company, organization, business that has, if you have resources and people who need help finding them, we have a solution, and we want to support everyone who falls into that category. We do it in a kind, loving, compassionate, supportive, cheerleader type way, which I think again brings that empathy in with the, hey, we're going to hit you real hard with the fact that your search organization system is not it, but then let us help you make it better and let us stick with you on that journey.
Mm.
So that is what we do at Concern Center. I've been doing it. Gosh, I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. Meg, I was like, no, thanks. That's not for me. Here I am. Being an entrepreneur, right again. Just throw it in the bin. There's no box. There's no bottom. It's fine. So that's what we do. Just concerncenter.com is our website. We are on social media platforms. I personally recently started an Instagram. So at Erin Halligan Avery. It has 3,000 followers right now, which blows
Girl.
my mind, because I think just like 2 months ago I had 16 because I never did anything with it. It was like an old picture of my cat and like a picture of me with a hat on. Like I don't know. So I just started putting some stuff out there, right? I just started being like, all
Mm.
right, speak your truth into existence, see what happens. And I think my little tagline says, just a mom boss PhD business owner who has opinions on things and thought no one ever cared to listen, but here we
Oh,
are, right? And so people can find me on Instagram, and then I'm on LinkedIn as well, which is my other place that I like to share more intellectual, thought provoking, how does this look in the workforce type of things with people.
That was a beautiful way to close out our conversation on this kitchen table moment, my girl. Y'all, I'm going to link all of that in the show notes so that you can connect with our girl, Erin, and be a part of the light and the
Mhm.
badassery that she is to help you tap into sharing your voice and your nuggets because your people are waiting for you. I love you, Erin.
I
Thank
love you
you.
too, Meg. I
Mm,
love you. Thank you for having me. Big hug.
big
Big
hug.